Was sitting here today and I saw something that I wanted to share with you that I thought was interesting, worth talking about. It was actually inspired by my friend, Dr. Shauna Etienne. Dr. Shauna put up a post on Instagram and everybody should follow Dr. Shauna. She's a really smart black woman, and I just think she's awesome. She's 100% B1. And anyway, Dr. Shauna put this post up on Instagram, and I want to show you guys this post, and then I'm going to actually tell you what thoughts came to mind. You know, my brain kind of works real funny, where if I see one little thing, it'll make me think about 1,000 other things. And I'm going to pull it up on my screen. My Instagram is The Real Boyce Watkins. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, you can follow me at The Real Boyce Watkins. So let me share my screen. What's up, everybody? John and Oshun and Alburo and Greg. Put your B1 in the chat. Let me know if you're B1. B1 means we're Black first. We put our community at the top of the list. We make sure that we take care of ourselves before we take care of other people. B1 also means that we are going to make sure our children are number one when it comes to wealth and economics and family. Family is important, an important part of wealth within the next 50 years. So if you agree with that philosophy, if you agree with that goal, if you agree with that vision, put B1 in the chat, hashtag B1. And hello, Mac and Gilv and Doretha and Lawrence and Sadiqa. Okay, so let me just share this with you. I thought this was really interesting. As you know, I'm a student of life, and I love to learn things. And when I learn things, I share them with you because my hope is that we can all grow and benefit. So I want you to check out this post. I thought it was kind of funny, and it's funny, but it's funny, but it's not. It's funny, but it's deep. And the post says this. It says, "Girl posts a fire selfie." So it says that the main dude likes the picture. He just likes the picture, doesn't make a comment. The side dude puts cutie and puts a little emoji with little hearts on the eyes, that kind of thing. And it says, the dude with no chance says, "You are an embodiment of the grace and goodness of the Lord. Keep shining in his marvelous light." Right. So basically, obviously, to summarize, basically what she's saying in this post is that and I don't know if she made the post up or somebody else did, but Dr. Shauna is the person I got it from. And so in this post, it's saying that, you know, that when the post goes up, the main guy's like, okay, I'm gonna hit the like button. The side dude is saying, which is that right there is something we're talking about, right? The side dude puts something, tells her that she's cute. And then the guy that has no chance is the guy who's like fawning all over her, thinks that she's amazing. God, I love you, blah, 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 right? Now, what this made me think about, besides the fact that she's got a side dude, which right there is kind of a funny thing, right? The side dude's there. But I would almost say that a lot of women, not all women, but I've seen a lot of women that have a side dude, but they just may not be having sex with him, right? Give me a yes or no if you know what I'm talking about. Chris Rock called that, he actually called it dick in a glass jar, break in case of emergency. Not to be too vulgar, but that's what Chris Rock said. And I agree. I think that, and ladies, maybe you can confirm this, but a lot of times, you know how it is, especially if the woman's attractive, she'll have guys around. She'll have little friends kind of hovering, right? And maybe she's staying loyal, maybe not. Hopefully she is, but sometimes we know how life works. And once she's free, these become the men she can engage with, right? Now, whether she deliberately keeps that circle or not, nobody knows, because there's two dynamics, right? One is maybe she is playing a role in keeping the circle, but the circle is also keeping her. The guys are hovering just in case, the guy calls and says, "How's your boyfriend doing? How's your relationship doing?" Right? He's fishing. He's looking for information to see if he has an opportunity, right? And the same thing happens with women. I see women that do that all the time, and that's life, right? We know how life works. Life is complex, but so the side dude part is relevant. Just I hope it's not so sinister that she's already engaged with him in a way that's inappropriate. But here's what this made me think about, right? So what this made me think about was, it made me, one thing that I mentioned, and I mentioned this on Instagram, and I felt this way, is, and this is the way I actually approach relationships after about maybe 25 years old, was I decided that if I choose a woman, I'm not going to let other men out compliment me when it comes to my woman. Where did I get that from? Well, I got that because I read a book. A lot of dudes don't read books. That's why they get played. That's why they get cheated on, because y'all motherfuckers need to learn how to read. And so I was a reader, and I read in this book. I read a book about women because I wanted to understand women, so that when I picked the woman I wanted, I had choices. I had a lot of options. When you make six figures and all that, you got plenty of options. So, but I said, when I pick a woman, I want to make sure that I know what I'm supposed to do, right? So that I don't get it played like a sucker and end up looking stupid. So I read a book about women. It was by Dr. Barbara DeAngelo. It's called What Women Want Men to Know. And I remember reading that book, and I also remember reading somewhere, I don't know if it was in her book or somewhere else, where it said something like, it said that if your woman hears, pay attention now, listen, pay attention now. It said that if you give your woman a compliment and she's your girlfriend, it's going to have a certain effect on her, but she's maybe heard it before, right? So it's not as big of a deal because she sees you every day. But if a stranger gives your woman a compliment, it affects her more. Like it reacts to that naturally more because it's coming from somebody new. It's new, it's different, etc. Like the newness is what you're always competing against, right? But then it also said that the double whammy is that when you insult your woman, it hurts her more than if a stranger insults your woman. Do you follow what I'm saying? Give me a yes in the chat if you get what I'm saying. That it hurts her more if you insult her than if a stranger insults her, right? So I read this stuff, right? And I read it and I was like, okay, this is interesting because let me tell you what was going on. This is just me. You know, I'm going into Uncle Boyce mode, sharing what I know, sharing what I've seen. I've been hit on a million times by married women in relationships. And it was fascinating to me how they would have these husbands that were 100% confident and secure that they woman ain't looking at nobody else, right? So these were those guys in that whole like, don't be simping, dog category, right? That's, you know, that false masculinity, right? Like when these guys don't understand, you call me a simp because I love my woman. No, you're a simp because you have so many mommy issues that you are afraid to truly love a woman. That's where your simping started at the age of 3. My simping didn't begin till I was about 28. And I decided that if I pick a woman, I'm going to defend my territory by making sure that on any given day, I am the best candidate for the job. I make sure that on any given day that I'm not going to get caught slipping. I make sure on any given day that she's not going to walk out here and see 50 men treating her better than what she's got at home. So I'm on top of my game. I stay ready so you ain't got to get ready. A lot of guys, they don't stay ready. They like, oh, I ain't trying to be sipping, dog. I don't want to be sipping. Fuck these hoes, man. Fuck my favorite. And you heard that from your favorite rapper. You know, somebody told you that that's what a man does. Next thing you know, you come home and your man or your woman is sleeping with another dude. And then you turn man, you can't trust these hoes, these lying ass bitches, these hoes. You can't be trusting these hoes, man. These hoes, man, F these hoes, man. Right? That's where that comes from because you got caught slipping. And another guy, he said in the hair pulled. Right. Another guy's in bed with your woman, pulling her hair, got her bent over the chair because you got caught slipping because you were not on your game. I learned a long time ago that you protect what matters to you. Right now, I'm not saying, you know, you fight for territory with every woman you meet. Some women you don't care. Some women belong to the world. Some women, just let's be honest, there's tiers to this, right? There's some women where you're like, I don't really care what you do when I walk out of the room. Good luck to you in your life. I'll see you soon, right? But there's some women where you say, that's my space right there. And I'm not going to compete with for the territory by barking at every man that I think is better than me, right? A lot of guys, when they get super jealous, that's an insecurity. That's them maybe thinking that man might be a better choice for you. So if I threaten you and if I scare the hell out of you and if I yell at you and why are you looking at him? Why would you? I saw you looking at that nigga. I saw you looking at him. Right. They think that that's their way of protecting their territory when the reality is that part of the reason that you're feeling that way is because you're feeling a deep-seated insecurity that's making you think that because deep down, you know, he might be better, right? But if you're on your job and you're doing your very best as a man, sure, it doesn't mean you can't get played. I mean, everybody gets played at some point in their life, I'm sure. But it kind of means you can go through, you can be confident. You can say, yeah, she probably thinks he's attractive. But chances are I have the incumbent's advantage, which means that even though I think he might be able to compete with me if we were both strangers, I'm her man and he's not. I have the presidency. It's like when Barack Obama would took that little picture and said, this seat is taken in the White House. like, this seat is taken and I'm defending the seat. I'm not leaving this seat. Right. So these little things are important. And I think that guys that listen to other men into too much, if you listen to your single friends, like your guy friends that ain't really kept a woman more than about 6 weeks at a time or whatever and been cheated on, and that's why they say they can't stand these hoes because all these hoes be cheating because they get cheated on because they never satisfy their women. Those are not the guys to get advice from. I got advice from men who knew how to cover their territory. And like my father was married to my mother for 47 years. And I never saw my mother look at another man, not once, not once. Now, let me read something to you. I found this list online that I think for anybody that is interested in this information can help you. This is a list of 12 reasons why women cheat. Now, this is not the only list of reasons. Sometimes I assume women cheat just to be just because that's what they're going to do, right? There's some people that are just stupid. They just do what they're going to do, and that's just what it is. And we know it happens all the time, and it's fine, right? But here's a list of 12 reasons. There's a person who wrote this article. It's on a website. It's actually brides.com. I just Googled it. A lady named Kathy Meyer. I got to look up Kathy Meyer's background just to see. She's a certified divorce coach, marriage educator, freelance writer, and founding editor of divorcemoms.com. So she's divorced. So maybe, I don't know. So maybe she's cheated and she knows why, or she studied it. I don't know. But I'm going to read her list and just tell you what she said. And this list actually made sense. She said 12 reasons women cheat in relationships. 1, dissatisfaction in the relationship. That means you're not satisfying her. It's, she uses terms like we're in a bad patch, or we're having a bad, bad time or whatever. So if the relationship's not good and she's unhappy and unsatisfied, then that can occur. And I can tell you the guys who think that you are simping by giving your woman a compliment or being nice to her or being there for her or telling her that she's beautiful, you're probably going to get cheated on, because at some point your relationship will be in a bad patch. So you should probably not go for quality women. You should stick with strippers and hoes and hookers, because if you get a real woman that you really want to be with and you're treating her like that, she's probably either going to leave you or she's going to cheat on you. So you just, so when you say you can't trust them hoes, that's probably because you can't trust them, because they're going to cheat on you. They're not going to want to be with you, and they're going to do whatever. All right, because you're not able to do the job. Number 2, they said low self-esteem. They said when a woman is struggling with her self-worth, it may spur them to look to external sources for attention and validation that they and their partner are unable to create and sustain. Quote, low self-esteem starts out looking like, why would anyone find me attractive? Then when someone starts to show that attention, it feels really good. So your woman who might have a self-esteem challenge, and I honestly believe a lot of people have, self-esteem issues. They just show them in different ways. Men show their self-esteem issue by exhibiting excessive bravado, like I man, F these hoes, I ain't sipping on you with these hoes, right? That means deep down, like your heart is hurting, so you're kind of putting on a false bravado to cover that up, right? Because a real man doesn't have to prove he's a real man. He just does what a real man does. But then for women, the insecurities may come out in the need for compliments, right? You see sometimes women online who put out a ton of selfies, who are looking for people to hit the like button because they need that. When that like button gets hit and they're like, oh, my picture got 300 likes or whatever, that's a boost. That's a little boost of dopamine. Dopamine is a chemical in your brain that makes you feel good. It feels a little bit like cocaine, except cocaine gives you an excessive amount of dopamine. So these are like little tiny hits of cocaine. That's just what it is. So low self-esteem is a big deal. And here's the thing, right? So if you're dealing with someone whose self-esteem might need a little bit of a boost and you're not giving that person that boost, they may get that boost from somebody else. So that's another reason why they say women cheat, but I've seen men cheat for that reason too. 3, emotional starvation. While studies suggest that men who cheat are primarily motivated by sex, which I can't disagree with that, women who cheat tend to do so to fill an emotional need. And in the case of an emotional affair, sex isn't part of the equation at all. Whether the affair is physical or emotional in nature, a woman may cheat because they crave conversation, empathy, respect, devotion, adoration, support, or some other connection that's lacking in their current relationship. But, I would just be careful, because you chose not to give her that because you don't want to be a simp. But you better sit down and talk to your woman. If your woman is a conversationalist kind of person, if she likes to talk and she likes to connect and she's intellectual and you're a dumbass and who doesn't want to read a book and she wants to grow and you just want to sit still and not move because you don't want to be simping for these hoes or whatever it is, whatever stupid nonsense somebody taught you, you will get cheated on. She will eventually find that fulfillment somewhere else. She will find a man who is open to connecting with her in a variety of ways. There are 1,000 different plugs into a woman's soul, and you cannot focus on your belief that the only way to plug into her is through her vagina. There's 1,000 different ways to plug into a woman's soul, and other men will be plugging in your woman all day long, and you won't even know it because you're playing checkers and everyone else is playing chess. So that's what I'm reading here, and that's what I've seen, and I believe that's the truth. But then, and remember, I'm 50 years old. I'm not 25, so I know a few things that I've seen firsthand from all different perspectives. 4, anger or retribution. Some women enter into a relationship with an idealized image of how their spouse should behave. When the partner falls short of expectations and can't meet their everyday need and desire, it can create a divide in the relationship that provides the impetus to stray. Some women may resent their partner for another reason, such as the partner's past affair, and use their own infidelity as retaliation. So that's 2 things. One, you've got maybe if you have a situation where a woman is spoiled or lives in a fantasy world about what a relationship is supposed to be like. A man, I'm sorry, ladies, but a man can't be your fantasy, right? We are flawed. We are human. We might do our best, but even for some people, you do your best. That's still not good enough. And so people don't get what they want. That's a spoiled person. That's why I think last week somebody said that they love the idea of spoiling your kids. You should spoil your kids. And I said, please don't spoil your kids, because spoiled kids grow into spoiled adults. So when you're spoiling your daughter, giving her these princess fairy tales and telling her that every man's going to be perfect and ain't nothing going to go wrong with her and her shit doesn't stink, she becomes kind of a terrorist to other people. She becomes an emotional terrorist. And don't let her grow up to be pretty too. And then all these guys will be trying to slay the dragon or trying to make a person satisfy a person who is unsatisfiable to fill a void that can't be filled. And it becomes very stressful to the people around her or him. Same thing is true. I've seen sons get spoiled maybe by their mama because their mama feels guilty because their daddy ain't there. So she buys him whatever he wants for his birthday. He's the guy that gets the brand new Ferrari when he's 16 and she just covers for him every time he messes up. He gets locked up in jail. She goes to bail him out. He has babies with women all throughout the neighborhood. She's paying child support and babysitting all the kids because she's constantly covering for him while he's living in her mama's basement, his mama's basement at 28 years old, smoking weed and playing Xbox all day. Well, guys like that don't grow up to become very good husbands for other women. They don't become very accountable. They're not good people in general. They're not able to really fulfill anything for anybody because they don't have any form of discipline, any form of ability to delay gratification, nor any ability to be there for anybody other than themselves. They are simply what is called in psychology, they refer to these people as pleasure seekers. You do not want to be in a relationship with a pleasure seeking person who avoids accountability, who has no interest in any sort of discipline necessary to be the head of a family. Don't let your household be headed by a spoiled jackass. And there's a lot of men who are spoiled. They're little babies with hair on their chest. So they think that they're grown men, but nobody ever taught them to be a man. But sometimes it's not their fault. Sometimes they never learned how to be a man. And their only message on manhood came from a rapper and we know rappers don't exactly set the best standard in terms of how to maintain a healthy relationship or how to love or respect a woman. For them, all women are bitches and hoes and everything else. And if I were a woman, I wouldn't tolerate that. I would not pick a man like that. I wouldn't pick a man who thinks that being nice to his woman is simping. I would pick a man who says, no, I want to be nice to the woman I love. And I'm confident enough to do that and know that that still makes me even more of a man. Don't pick those men who do that, because I'm telling you, if you pick people based on status and because you sometimes maybe your self-esteem is so low that you want that man more because he hates you that much or you like him more because he doesn't pay attention to you, right? And then the guy who really pays a lot of attention to you, who thinks you're amazing, is not interesting to you because he's boring. That means you probably need therapy too. You probably need therapy because this self-esteem issue that comes from our broken families, which happened during the crack era, back before the crack era, most black families had a mother and a father. Well, after the crack era, that changed, right? So it affected the self-esteem of all the children. So not only do you have the spoiled boys who grow up without any sort of model or template for real manhood other than what they see on TV, but you have a lot of girls who have low self-esteem because they never had a man. They never ever in their life hardly ever met a man who could really be there for them, love them, and value them, who wasn't trying to fuck them, right? They literally think that every man who says anything nice to them deserves a piece of ass. And next thing you know, you're getting pregnant by a loser. And then before you know it, you've cursed your children because your children have a father who is a complete piece of shit. And that's something that you have to work on in therapy. If it's not there, don't blame yourself. I'm not dogging you. I'm not attacking you. I'm just telling you the truth, which is going to make some people mad. I know some people are going to get mad and walk out because maybe I struck a chord, and I apologize for that. But after you finish being mad at me, go see a therapist so your self-esteem can be intact so that you can love a person who loves you back. A lot of people love other people who don't love them. Why the fuck is that person in the bed with you if they don't appreciate you? Male or female? Seriously, if you're a man, why would you want to be with the baddest chick and she treats you like dirt when another woman who maybe ain't as pretty as her, but believe me, there's a lot of great black women who can do cartwheels in the bedroom, who will cook you the best meal you ever had, who will be there for you in the middle of a thunderstorm, who have your back no matter what, who are 100 times better than that girl that you think was the baddest chick, who's spoiled half to death, who doesn't know how to treat anybody with any sort of decency. Seriously, I mean, I'm just telling you, like, to me, this is just my 2 cents. This is Uncle Boyce talking. This is not based on any sort of, scientific validation at this point. This is me talking based on what I've seen and my own journey in terms of understanding life. Also, my wife happens to be a relationship therapist. That does help. But shit, sometimes she reads something out of a book and I'm like, that don't even make no sense to me. I don't even get that. Right. So we don't agree on everything. But one thing I can tell you is that if you pick somebody and they don't love you and they don't respect you and they don't like you, why would you pick that person to be in your life? And I'm gonna tell you why. My theory is this. My theory is that you don't see yourself as being valuable or worthy. You're like black people are when we're trying to run up next to white people so we can feel better about ourselves. The reason we spend our lives trying to run up next to white people is because we feel that we're worthless without them. That when we're by ourselves, we're nothing. But when they accept us, then suddenly I am somebody. Right. Look, mama, they gave me that fancy job down at the factory. Look, mom, I was on TV. Look, mom, I graduated from Brown. Right. Like then suddenly you're not a nigga anymore. You are you hear somebody. I just somebody now, boss. Right. I think we do that in relationships. That's just my 2 cents. I believe in relationships. We have those who have such low self-esteem that you feel like you are a better person because you're next to that man who happens to be famous or wealthy or powerful or whatever. Like suddenly that gives you worth. And without that man, you don't have worth. You got to let that go. I really encourage you to, and don't just let it go, like work on that, like go to see a therapist, like work on the self-esteem so that you know that you're worthy. Right. And same thing is true with men. I know men who think that, that having the baddest chick makes you a better man. They pick their woman, not because they're picking the woman who treats them the best and who's the kindest to them. They pick the woman that's the prettiest so they can show her off to their friends. Your woman is not a goddamn car. She's not a fucking fur coat. She's not an accessory from your wardrobe. She's not. Why are you picking a person because you're trying to impress other people? That's somebody you got to live with every day. There's no way. I mean, don't get me wrong. My wife when I met her, I thought she was the baddest thing on the street. But believe me, when I even admitted to her that I was attracted to her, I was checking her attitude because I'm like, you know what? You get all of this, you get all this Boyce Watkins-ness. That means something. And if you're not acting right, if you are a spoiled brat, if you believe in treating men like shit, then I'm not gonna give you something as valuable as my heart, my life, my time, my body, and none of that. If you don't earn it, then you don't get it. And some of y'all give it all up to people who did not earn it. You're giving it up to people who don't deserve it. Seriously, I have seen women get pregnant by men, quality women get impregnated by men who ain't worth a fucking nickel on the goddamn street. And I'm like, why would you let a man even near your body? What happened to you? Where is your self-esteem at that you even think he's worthy of even being in your bedroom? And then I see men, same thing. Men will fall. I believe what I see, my view. This is me talking based on my experience. We will fall for a big butt and a smile any day of the week. A big, like if she's cute, then we in. We automatically assume that that's a good catch because she's the prettiest girl in the room. And maybe my experience is different because I've been hit on by the prettiest girl in the room on many occasions. There's benefits to being famous. There's benefits to having money, benefits to all of that, right? So I've been hit on by those types of people. And I learned that there is a pathway that you must follow, in my view, to learn how to balance between what you want and what you need. What you truly deserve versus being in situations that you don't have to be and you should not be in, dealing with people that you shouldn't be dealing with people who don't know how to value what's in front of them. So that self-worth piece is a big deal. A lot of our people lose that. I believe that when you don't have both parents validating you on a daily basis, you have to work on that, and you work on that with a therapist. I'm a big fan of Black people who get in therapy. Everybody, all of us are fucked up. This racism thing has messed our heads up. The crack era, all this stuff. Think about this. You literally have a community where a big percentage of your people are looking up to men who get on stage in front of 100,000 white people, call themselves the N-word, and brag about killing other black people as the white people are cheering in the stands. And you look at those people and you say, my God, that guy is so successful. Like you cheer that as success. A black man who's literally doing, the Klan can't do this. The KKK can't pull this off. The KKK can't run out and say, die, nigga, die, and have people cheer for that, right? But a black man can do that, and you will honor him. You'll say, those are our leaders in our community. like that's how backward some of our people are. Like this stuff has really turned our head around. So I really think overall, when you're talking about all this stuff, I think self-worth is extremely important, because self-worth is what allows you to be able to walk away from any situation and be okay and know that you're going to be fine. It allows you to walk away from a relationship and say, I'm sorry it didn't work out. I wish you the best, but there's other fish in the sea, so I'm going to be all right, right? If you have low self-esteem, then not only does that make you hesitant to do what you know you need to do, but it also makes other people can smell that. You know, people can smell low self-esteem. So if you run into an abusive person who can smell your low self-esteem, then next thing you know, he's saying stuff like, well, you know, if I don't want you, nobody will. Well, you know, you got kids, and if you leave me, then I mean, Kevin Samuels says that women with kids is low value, whatever the hell he's. I don't know. I don't watch Kevin's videos, so I shouldn't say that. But y'all know what I'm talking about. You got guys that really think women with kids are low value and all this other stuff, right? And you'll fall for that. When I can just tell you, I can tell you, I know a lot of guys who have no problem with the kids. It's the quality of woman that you are. If you are a high quality, I would in a million years, I would take a high quality woman with children over a low quality woman with no kids any day of the week. You know, so I really encourage you to look into that self-worth piece, because that will help you overcome white supremacy, but it also helps you overcome relationship damage that comes from how low self-esteem can cause us to choose the wrong people, to make the wrong choices, to abuse others, to end our relationships, or to become easily triggered when something goes wrong. A person whose self-esteem is intact is able to take it in stride. They're not going to take everything personal, but a person whose self-esteem is damaged, he's the guy that goes off every time he thinks he was disrespected. You're like, damn, I just asked you if you want a chicken or steak. And you're like, why are you disrespecting me? I'm not no simp. I ain't no simp. No. That's because deep down he feels like he's like scared of being a simp. So he's constantly telling you he ain't no simp. Right? When really deep, again, he's got deep-seated issues that probably come from childhood, and he didn't have the proper attachments growing up as a kid. Okay. So let me keep reading. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up, share, subscribe button if you haven't done it yet. Let's see. Number 4, I think they said anger or retribution. Yeah, they said a lot of women get pissed off because maybe somebody cheated and they want to get revenge. 5, lack of excitement. They said a lot of people get bored in their relationships. And I've seen that. I saw a woman who was having an affair, and I asked her, I said, why are you cheating on your husband? I was waiting for some dramatic story. I was like, did he beat you? Like, did he cheat on you? Is he a terrible person? And she said, no, he's a nice guy. I said, well, why would you do that? And she said, because I got bored. She said, because I didn't know that what being with somebody for the rest of your life really meant. Right. And that's another thing, too, that's important is if you're talking about really trying to really be with somebody, you got to really know what that means. Like, what does that really mean to be with somebody for the rest of your life? I thought about that when I was young. That's why I didn't do it. I was like, okay, when I was 25, I was like, I met Alicia before I was 25, and I wouldn't have married her when I was 25 because I didn't want to get married. I was like, why? I don't think I want to sign a contract that ties me in for the rest of my life. I want to live a little bit and maybe get married, maybe 35. And then when I got 35, I said, I think I'll wait till 45. Right. Because, and so if you assume I still have another 30, 40 years of life on earth, then that's enough time for me to have that experience. Right. So I really encourage you to come up with your own line of thinking. I've seen a lot of people get married too young because everybody's telling them to do that. And I'm not telling you not to do it. I'm just telling you that you want to think it through and make the decisions that are going to work best for you. Don't do things because other people told you. But then the other thing, too, is if you do it, in my opinion, just know that all the instruction that you get on the internet is bullshit. Most of the people that give relationship advice, if you really want to understand that they're good at relationships, if you want to see if they're good at what they do, look at their track record. Many of them have a string of divorces, a string of bad relationships. Why would you get relationship advice from people who cannot have a relationship? Why would you? Now maybe they can teach you how to go and get easy sex. Like if they're good, maybe they're good at that, right? Because being internet famous will get you some ass if that's what you're chasing, right? If that's what you want, it's out there, right? But if you're looking to really try to make something work with somebody, I like to listen to the people that know what they're doing. I like to listen to the OGs in the community. I like to listen to people who really did it. Like, you can't fake 30 years of marriage. You can't. You can talk it. You can talk all day long, but no, there's no amount of talking you can do that will simulate the ups and downs necessary to make it work with another person for 25 or 30 years. So I listened to my parents. I listened to my father. Like, how did you do that? How did you make it since the 70s and stay together through the 80s and the 90s and the two? That's a big deal, right? And why is that important? Well, again, I go back to the point I've been making to you guys before. And you might ask, well, why would I talk about relationships? You're a financial guy. It's because relationships are critical when you talk about wealth. Any man who is a true empire builder, any man that is a builder of an empire. Now, the weak men are not going to do this, right? They're the ones who think that loving a woman is simping and stuff like that. But I'm talking about men who are true empire builders understand that you need family in order to secure your legacy. In order for you to be truly seen by the world as a complete boss, as a complete human being, you need something that involves relationship building, particularly with women and children. Women are critical because women are the ones who give birth to all of us. They want you to hate your women because they want you to be extinct. They don't want your black ass. They never wanted your black ass to be born. So they love it when black men hate women or when they want to poke their penises in each other's butts. Because if you poke in your butt, your thing in another man's butt, then you're never going to reproduce. They don't want you here. They want you not reproducing the same way you give roaches a virus or something, and you make sure that they can't have babies, right? So effectively, they like it. People like it when black people don't work together. They like it when the men hate the women hate the men. They want all of that because it's all about population control, right? But if you're a true empire or builder and you're trying to really build something, you understand that once I get to a certain point, especially when you hit 40 and up. Now, if you 25, 28, I forgive you for whatever you think, right? When you're 28, you think you're going to be 28 forever. I did. We all do, right? But when you get over 40, there's a point where, or definitely maybe even 35, maybe even before then, maybe 32, 31, depending on whatever, you have to start kind of thinking about the next stage. Like, okay, what's the next step in all this thing, in this whole thing? Because they say that that poor people plan for the weekend, middle-class people plan for the next decade, wealthy people plan for the next generation. So the man who's wealthy, who's going to be wealthy, is the guy who's looking at his children and saying, I'm going to pour like crazy into these kids so that these children can carry on the legacy when they're done. Now, in some cases, it may not even be your own kids. That's where you have the men in the community that do step up for kids that are not their own. I love those men. I respect them. Those men helped raise me. My father was not my biological father. I was a track coach. I used to love engaging with those kids and mentoring them. I love it when I explain something to you guys and you share it with your kids. In my view, your kids are my kids too, right? They're all our children because I do believe it takes a village, because I want to see the village win. But really, when you're talking about somebody that's building empires and legacy, that's how they're thinking. Why is that important? Well, because one of the most critical elements of winning in life in general comes from planning ahead. Wars are won before the war even begins. People who control the present are people who plan for the present in the past. Now, I want you to contrast that to what you see, unfortunately, that happens with a lot of our brothers who don't learn this, who never get taught maturity. Well, those guys die young. They die young. Not only do they die young, but they die a miserable, humiliating, disgusting death. They die embarrassing deaths. They die, you're 25 years old. You think you're going to get high and get drunk every day and just get with random women for the rest of your life. And you're going to keep it pimping till you 80, right? So then you hit 35, 40, your body starts slowing down. You ain't be able to move the way you used to. Your body can't handle the dope like it used to be able to. You can't get drunk every night like you could when you were 25. Next thing you know, you get about 35, 40 years old, you start having significant health problems. And then there's nobody there to take care of you. They're your children. You make sure, because you were keeping it pimping. So you got kids everywhere, right? Your kids don't even know you. So they're not loyal to you. They're not coming to visit your raggedy ass in the hospital. They don't give a fuck about you. Why would they? When they were 2 looking for daddy, your ass went around because daddy was out keeping it pimping. Daddy wasn't going to love these hoes. Daddy wasn't going to be no simp, right? So next thing you know, daddy is dying at the hospital. By himself. Maybe his girlfriend is there, his current girlfriend, and then he dies and they have his funeral, and nobody really gives that much of a shit, right? Kids are showing up out of everywhere, every rich direction. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Some of those funerals where the kids show up and nobody even knew that he had another baby with that lady, and that this other child shows up from Wisconsin talking about, yeah, he's my daddy too, and all this, and then ain't no money, right? So the kids are on the internet putting up a GoFundMe. Please give us money to bury our daddy. That should be embarrassing to you. Like that should be embarrassing, right? And the saddest part about that is that sometimes happens to some of the men that we look at as the most successful men in the community. There's a lot of rappers, very famous rappers, who died like that, who died with no solid legacy at all, except for the fact that they made a banging album back in 2002. Right? Like that's all they got. The kids are like, well, I didn't even know the motherfucker, and you know, and I hated him when he was alive, and then the woman's like, well, yeah, I survived because he used to beat my ass every day, and then the bank account's empty, money's gone, they doing the estate plan, and ain't no money to leave the kids, and you're like, damn, my daddy was the most famous rapper in America. I should have something for all that work, right? No, because you never thought about the future. You live for the moment. You lived in a space that they refer to as instant gratification. DMX, I will use DMX's name, not out of not to attack, but I don't care, because I know people get mad when they feel like you're attacking their heroes, and I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of backlash on this. But I told you all when DMX was 29 years old, I was 28 years old. And I saw him on an interview, and I heard him talk about his life. And they said, so what do you do when you're on tour? He said, well, nothing. Just smoke all day, fuck all night. So he was smoking crack all day and fucking women all night. And even at 28, where I'm a young and impressionable, I'm like everybody else. I'm taught to look up to the rappers and be curious about what they're doing and all that. You know, like I eventually became friends with Dame Dash and a lot of guys that are in the hip hop game, but at that time, they were people on TV to me. And I remember looking at that and I was thinking that can't end well. Like that doesn't make sense. And then 20 years later, I look back on that interview when I saw the way he died. I don't think he deserved to die like that. I think that he was a product of his environment, right? It was the crack era. I go back to when the CIA was putting crack in the black community. They did that to ruin you. And what that did was that it was a tremendously horrific destabilization of the black community that caused a lot of black men to make choices that were not good for us. And also what was made worse is that they then used the music as a weapon of mass destruction to mass market death to black men. They mass market death to you and to get you to celebrate it and dance to a beat, because they know that that toxic, destructive death related music is like it's like Popeye's chicken, or it's like feeding somebody poison. If you put some hot sauce on it and some sugar on it, some people who aren't really thinking will eat the poison, and they'll want more poison, because then they'll become addicted to the poison, because sugar is addictive, right? So effectively they feed you poison, except they wrap it around in a nice beat, or they make it look flashy, and then you embrace it all. Next thing you know, you're 45 years old and you're dead, or you or your family is torn apart, or your daddy is somebody that you don't even know, you don't even admire, because he was out here, imitating the behavior of men who think in terms of instant gratification. So I'm looking for the real men in the building. I'm looking for the men that want to be real men. And these are the men I like to talk to. I can't really relate to some of what I see right now, because I don't see anything that is conducive to the things that will lead black people to have wealth and power long term. I don't see any of that. I'm a believer in power. I like power. I like to be powerful. People get offended because I don't hate white people as much as they do. Like, they get mad. White people trigger them. They're like, those white people, they did this, they did that. I don't really hate white people because I don't care. They don't control my life. When I meet a white guy, he's usually coming to work for me. When the Asian people around me, they work for me. I knew one Asian guy, and people think that he's really the secret boss of all this. And that's because that's how they think. They think that if a person who is around you that's not black, they must be the boss. You can't really be the boss because you just a nigga. How can a nigga be the boss? No, I'm the boss, right? And at the end of the day, I think that you're talking about a poison toxic mindset. So if I wanted to be as successful as possible, one thing I would do is I would really, if I were you, those of you who are listening to me, I would really go study how to have a great family. Like, how to really, like, if you really find, again, if you are playing around and, you don't really like the women that you're around or whatever, that's fine. But if you find a woman that's really solid in quality, and you really want to make it work, study that, like, read books about it, like watch videos on how to have a good relationship, disconnect from the culture, stop listening to losers and letting losers tell you how to win, because they don't know how to win. That's why they're losing. And learn how to keep your family together, because if you can't keep your family together, then you're not going to be able to build wealth or anything, because you're going to be fighting against all this stuff in your own house that won't allow you to ever prosper in any area of your life. All right, so let me see here. All right, so here I was reading the 12 reasons women cheat. If you could take a second, please hit the thumbs up button. I got to go. There's a black male entrepreneurship competition I'm going to participate in, and I don't think it's called the Black Founders Pitch, but I don't think they're streaming it live. So, but I'll get the recording and I'll actually offer to share it on my channel. But it's a bunch of brothers that are starting businesses, and I'm actually one of the judges in this competition. All right, so let me see here. 6 is sexual deprivation. They said that if you're not hitting it right, then she's going to be thinking about other men that can hit it better. That's just the truth. So if your penis isn't, adequate, or you can't keep it hard, or whatever it is, then you're going to have some competition. So whether you like it or not, I know it doesn't fit the fairy tale that we, because women don't talk about sex as much, but that is true. If she's not satisfied sexually, then you have an uphill battle in front of you. 7, loneliness. A woman who cheats may have a partner who works long hours, leaving them home with the kids all day. Perhaps they found themselves in a stage of life where it's harder to make friends, or maybe their significant other is contending with a chronic illness. Whatever the reason, loneliness and feelings of isolation and disengagement can, quote, provide the perfect ingredients for an affair. Okay, so if they feel lonely, then somebody starts meeting their unmet needs. 8, insecure attachment style. Attachment theory suggests that early childhood relationships influence how we perceive and behave in our intimate relationships as adults. Depending on the care and nurturing, or lack thereof, that one receives as a child, they'll fall into one of 3 attachment styles as adults. Secure, meaning having well-adjusted expectations and approaches to relationships. Anxious, exhibiting fear of abandonment. Or avoidant, preferring to retain their independence from others. So secure attachments are when your parents are around and you don't have to worry about anybody abandoning you or leaving the family or whatever, right? The fear of abandonment may come from somebody who, as a child, maybe my daddy ran off and was never there. So a lot of women, you got to look out for that. You may have a fear of abandonment because maybe the first man you ever loved abandoned you, or an abandonment from your mama. Mama was off, getting high, whatever, right? And mama wasn't really there for me, right? So a lot of the men who hate women today, that comes from unaddressed mommy issues. Like they hate their mothers, they're mad at their mothers for some reason, and that translates into a genuine hatred and distrust of women in adulthood. And so effectively, in order for the economy of love to work, it's just like a regular economy. If there's no trust, if people can't let their guard down, if everybody's afraid of being traumatized, and everybody's got their guard up, then nothing's going to work. You can't blend, you can't bond, you can't reproduce, you can't create. You'll make babies, because you'll be together just long enough to make the baby, but you won't be together long enough to make a family. And that's what you see. What do you see all throughout the community? What do you see all throughout the community? You see a big string of broken, busted up relationships. You see a lot of people who, and I'm not making fun of anybody. If you're in that category, I'm not making fun of any of that. I was a baby daddy. I had a daughter when I was 18. I wish I could have married her mother, but her mother didn't. Her dad was never really around. And it was kind of like our family structures were different. And so, it was tough. I'm not going to, and again, like a lot of guys, I fell for a big butt and a smile. When I was a little older, I made different decisions, right? So all of us have been hit by this. And it's, and I think that those of you that really want to sort of figure out a way out of all this, I think you've got to create your own culture. If you take in the culture that everybody else is taking in, you're not going to succeed, because this culture is very, very bad. This culture is not built for building and connecting and loving and trusting and being kind to each other. It's built on hating and attacking and everything else. And it's kind of crazy. I mean, there are people that are literally mad at me and Alicia because we're happy. Like literally, like there was Kwame Brown did a whole video trying to explain that my wife was secretly in love with Willie D. And this motherfucker has never met me. He's never met my wife. And I don't even know if he knows Willie D. But there's a million people who will listen to a guy who talks about shit that he knows nothing about. Right. But and they will run with that like that. It must be true because he said it on the internet. And we just sit here and we are so fascinated. We just laugh. We're like, oh, my God, where do all these people learn all this shit about our relationship? Well, we ain't said one word to none of y'all motherfuckers about anything that we didn't want you to know. Right. So effectively, that's the world you live in. You live in a world that's crazy. You live in a world that's weird. You live in a world where people, you back in the day, this isn't just now, right? This has always kind of been true. Anybody remember when the Cosby Show came out? The Cosby Show came out, and when the Cosby Show came out, they had a healthy family with a mother, a father, wonderful, well-adjusted children, and everybody was happy, everybody was safe, everybody was good. And you know what they said about the Cosby Show? Does anybody remember? What did they say about the Cosby Show? They said it's unrealistic. They said this is unrealistic for black people because the black family must be in a war zone. To be really black, you got to be in the middle of motherfucking hell every day of your life. If the daddy ain't abandoned the family, that's not a real black family. If the mama ain't tripping and crazy and ridiculous and loud and ghetto as hell, that ain't a real black family. If the son ain't out thugging and the daughter out tricking and ain't nobody got shot this week, that's not a normal black family. Black people can't relate to that because that's not realistic. Are you serious? Are you telling me? So you're telling me, pay attention now. The programming. Thank you, Erica. That's the perfect word. That's why they don't call it the TV program for nothing. The programming is that being black means that you have to go through trauma every single day of the week. That if you're not being consistently traumatized and to the point where you hate your life and are damn near ready to kill yourself, then you ain't really black. You ain't really black. You ain't keeping it real. You ain't never gone through nothing. Let me tell you what I went through when I was a kid. We didn't have no food, and my uncle got shot, and my cousin shot my sister, and my brother's sister got raped. And I'm not saying these things don't happen. I'm not making fun of you if you're in that category. Don't get me wrong. If you've gone through these things, right? We've all gone through the trauma, but just understand. I need y'all to at least acknowledge with me that I dream, like Dr. King had a dream of white girls and black boys holding hands or something like that. I don't care about that. I don't like white girls. My dream is that you can be a black family and have really normal shit happening every day in your house. That you can have a normal household where everybody's doing well, where everybody got an education. You can have a household, you can be black and have a household where, oh my God, where the father actually loves the mother and he kisses his wife and tells her that she's pretty every day. And he did without being called a simp, right? Oh, you simping. You need to slap them bitches in order to keep them straight. If you ain't slapping them hoes, and you's a simp, nigga. Stop that. Stop it. White people taught you all that nonsense. Grow up. Grow up. Love is the only thing that will get us out of the mess that we are in. The whole world is that it is already at war with you. Why do you insist on remaining at war with yourself? Why would you go to war with the women that have your back? The women that had your back 300 years ago when Massa was coming to kill you. Every black woman is not a queen, but there's a lot of queens in the black female community. And you don't treat every queen like she's Cardi B. Like, if she's really gone out of her way to be a queen, then show your black ass up as a king. If she's being a queen, you be a king. Stop that. Some of us just are committed to being crazy. I don't want to be crazy. I don't want to be unhappy. I don't want to be uneducated. I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be traumatized. I don't want my children out in the street. I don't want to feel like the white man has his foot on my neck. I don't want to feel like any of that. I want to feel free. I want to feel strong. I want to feel loved. I want to give love. I want to give as much. I want my children to grow up, and I don't want them to say, well, to be at my funeral talking about, well, you know, daddy wasn't shit, and papa was a rolling stone, and that nigga didn't never do nothing for us, and he told me he's going to pick me up from school, and he never showed up, and I'm still, for a kid, your kid, 40 years old, still waiting on daddy to pick him up from school. Y'all know we got kids out here like that. 40 years old, daddy said he's going to pick him up from school 30 years ago, never showed up, and he ain't got over it yet, right? I don't want children like that. I want my children to be at my funeral and say, that was a solid son of a bitch that's in that casket right there. That man came through for me every single time and made me proud to be his child. And I want those words coming out of all the children I have, including the ones that I did not give birth to myself, because my goal at the end of the day is to be as solid of a human being as I can possibly be. I may not always be perfect. Nobody is, but God damn it. Can't we aim for something better? There's nothing simping about being a quality man. Let's get out of that nonsense. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. All right. 2 more comments or 2 more quotes. So now I've given the trolls plenty of content for their videos. I've noticed there's a whole industry of anti-Boyce Watkins videos that's coming from the true simps of the community. Men who have significant mommy issues, who think that loving a woman is is simping. But again, they are actually the simps because you are so hurt by your mother or by some other woman that you're afraid to actually love a woman because you know that you can't handle it. That's why you use that language toward me. And I totally understand that because I'm a scientist and I get these things. Midlife crisis. That's another reason why women cheat. They said women hit midlife crisis between 35 and 60. The event has less to do with age and more to extenuating circumstances. Major life events such as the death of a parent or a milestone or a birthday may trigger a midlife crisis in a woman, causing them to wrestle with the burden of greatness. That is the socio-cultural expectation that women can and should have it all. A successful career, a loving partner, adoring children, and so on. So sometimes a midlife crisis can cause your partner to cheat. Number 10, an underlying condition. Depression and infidelity go hand in hand. That's an interesting thing. So basically, there is a thing where people who are depressed, they need what is it? What's the dopamine and norepinephrine and serotonin? Those are neurotransmitters we produce when we are attracted to somebody. When you feel that spark with somebody and you're attracted to them, those are the three chemicals. Dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin hit your brain and it feels like a drug. That's why you get so excited when you see that person you're attracted to. But also, these are the same chemicals that we take in when we take antidepressants. So for some people, they are sex addicts or they engage in very interesting sexual decisions, very unhealthy sexual decisions, largely because they are depressed and they are self-medicating. They are self-medicating. So, if you're a woman and you're letting men inside your body and looking back and saying, my God, this guy is a rodent. How did I let him have access to my vagina? He's a walking virus. Why would this man have access to the very best of me? Well, a lot of that is because you might be feeling depression, which is causing you to make choices that you might not otherwise make. So I would encourage you to find some healthy way to give yourself that spike of dopamine that goes beyond sleeping with Tyrone and them just because he got a little swag and he said something. He told you that you were pretty that day. Now, by the way, Jeff Lighty Jr. is in the chat, and I know, Jeff, you want a wrench. I cannot give you a wrench from StreamYard. So just hit me up and I can add you later because I don't know, or maybe let me know what channel you're on. I can go to that channel and give you a wrench. So I see you in there, Jeff, and I'm gonna look for your comment. All right, or your next comment. Number 11 is opportunity. They said that a lot of acts of infidelity happen just because you happen to be talking to somebody and they have the same problems as you, and because you're there and you both have a chance to get together, then you both decide, hey, let's go get it on, and that's what happens. And Chris Rock used to say that. Remember, Chris Rock used to say that men are only as faithful as their options. And I think I think that's a little bit of a cynical statement, right? But I will say that I think when guys are younger, I think that it is harder to turn down the options. I don't know if I would have seen options the same way then when I was 25 as I see them now. Right now, I'm kind of like, it's like Diddy used to say, more money, more problems. Eventually, you're like, more women, more problems, because it comes with a lot of other stuff that can disrupt everything else that you're doing. Like, so if you're a person, a man or a woman, and you got a lot of good stuff going on, you got to be thoughtful about who you let into your life because they can mess all that up. You let one crazy person in your life. If you're a black man, you could be falsely accused. Somebody could decide that they get mad and they want to go key up your car and meet your daughter at school and cuss out your wife and all this other stuff. So you become more of a grown man. You kind of realize, like, I don't want all that drama. But maybe when you're younger, then maybe some of that applies. That's why I would say, for example, if you're a woman and you marry like a guy who's 23 years old, who just signed a $30 million contract in the NBA and he's going to be on the road all the time, your chances of not being cheated on are probably like 0%. Like you probably, the odds of him being faithful would require him to have an almost superhuman ability to walk past a lot of temptation, because every single time you have a problem in your relationship, some girl would be right there saying, well, I would never give you those problems and I'm not going to give you those headaches and I can do what she won't do. And that's just a lot of pressure, right? That's not right. That's not fair, but that's just kind of what it is. Right. But so the other thing too, is that women sometimes, one thing about women and men that's different is I read about a chemical in women's brains, or in everybody's brain, called oxytocin. Oxytocin is what they call the bonding chemical. The bonding chemical is what makes a mother attached to her child. Like if you look at a woman, like you can find a woman who's the least disciplined person in the world, but if she has a baby, she's very, 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 very committed to that baby. Like she would die for that baby. Like she'll do anything to protect the baby. That's because of oxytocin. Oxytocin is what makes that connection, right? So oxytocin in women tends to spike higher than it does in men. Men have oxytocin, but from what I read, testosterone, which men also have, is a neutralizer of oxytocin, right? And so for women, though, the oxytocin tends to spike when a woman releases breast milk, when a woman gives birth to a child, when she has conversations with people. That's why a lot of times they say women get more connected to men when they have a lot of conversations with each other. Just by talking to you, she'll wake up and one day just realize she just loves you and doesn't even know why, right? Well, that's the oxytocin. And that's why talking is also relaxing for a lot of women. I'm not stereotyping, but that's just what I've read. That's my summary here. But then the other area where oxytocin is released is in an orgasm. If a man, it gives you lots of orgasms, then your oxytocin spikes up to the point where you become more deeply connected to that man. And so that's why I argue just as a matter of practicality that you be extremely careful about allowing a man to touch your body if you know he's not the right man. Because once he touches you, it's really like taking a hit of crack. Anybody watch Snowfall? Remember Snowfall? Did anybody watch Snowfall in the scenes where somebody's like, oh, there's this new drug called rock, and they'll be like, oh, well, let me try it. Right. And you're like, no, don't try it. But they didn't know it's 1981 or whatever. They didn't know crack was crack. Right. They thought it was just this cool new drug that would give you a high. Right. And then they would smoke the crack. And then it's like, and you're like, oh no, they done now. Next thing you know, little Mel was on her way to Spelman and Mel's out, looking for crack, right? Well, that's kind of, so Snowfall, the crack reaction to me, it makes me honestly think about sex, like that first, like super intense orgasm. And my God, women are cursed because some women can have multiple or, like 8 or 9, right? So that's heavy. Like that lays on your brain. Like that really affects your system. Like you're letting somebody into your soul when they do that. And some people shouldn't be in your soul, right? Because some people got diseases of the body, diseases of the mind, diseases of the spirit. Right. So you letting that person come in and you're giving them the power of your dope dealer. Like literally, they have the power. They're the pusher. You're the addict. You're addicted to something that they supply. And if you're addicted to something that's being supplied by somebody who does not care about you, who really doesn't have your best interest at heart, then you are in a terrible, horribly vulnerable position. They will slap you around, mistreat you, disrespect you, spit on you, pee on you, and you're going to take it because you need that crack. You need that drug. And it's only a matter of being away from the person for a while where you can break part of the addiction, right? But the thing about crack is it keeps on calling you. It never stops, right? That's why they say that even about cocaine, actually, that even when you get off cocaine, you're never truly free of it. It's always calling you because you know that you can go back to get that high. Do you know what I'm saying? Do y'all get what I'm saying? I sound a little crazy when I say this, but these are the things that I actually think about because I read things. I know some people don't like to read books and stuff, but I do. I think books are good. And this is what I know. And then when I read that in a book when I was 28, I said, I get it now. Love is a lot like a drug. That's why we act like addicts when we are attracted to somebody. When we're connected to somebody, we really are addicted to that person. I really believe that. And one thing that is true is that the pusher always has more power than the addict. So when you choose to allow yourself to become addicted to another person, you are putting yourself in an incredibly vulnerable position. It's almost like letting somebody get you drunk, right? Or letting them give you an anesthetic that's going to put you to sleep. When you go to sleep, when you are no longer conscious, they can do anything to you. And one thing you should learn and you should understand is that you do not allow yourself to be put out of consciousness by a predator, because a predator will do terrible things to you while you're asleep. So when you talk about defending your heart and defending your soul from bad people, it has to start at a distance. It has to start with you thinking longer term. Because what people do, I believe, is we slip ourselves into these stupid situations and we don't know how we actually got there. When the truth is, if you get smart, you'll start learning how to evaluate people from a distance to decide, do I even want to be close enough to you? Do I even want to give you my phone number? Do I even want, and I had to do that. This is just the uniqueness. My experience was probably a little bit different from some of you, right? Because I meet a lot of people and I look at people from a distance and say, do I even want to have one conversation with that person, knowing what that can become, right? and I think that's a good strategy for life. So that's my 2 cents. That's my Uncle Boyce discussion. Take it for what it's worth. I hope that it helps some of you. And the reason I have these conversations and I will never, ever stop is because I know that what I say does not sound like what everybody else is saying, but I believe that if you want your life to be better than other people's lives, you got to be different from other people. If you do what everybody else is doing, you're going to end up with what everybody else is getting. And if you look around in our community, when you look at family, a lot of people are doing it wrong. If you look around in our community and you look at wealth, a lot of people in our community are doing it wrong. If you look around in our community, you look at health, a lot of our people are doing it wrong. I encourage you to learn from the people who are doing it right. Do you get what I'm saying? Are you hearing what I'm saying? If you hear me, put your B1 in the chat. By the way, my life class, I have a life class where I talk about all kinds of stuff like this. I love sharing as much game as I can for those that can benefit from it. It's blackkeystogreatness.com. It's totally free. You can join for free at blackkeystogreatness.com. That also gives you free access to our book club. We meet every Wednesday at 8:30. We're covering Black Labor, White Wealth by Dr. Claude Anderson. So feel free to go to blackkeystogreatness.com because I really want to do all I can to be supportive of you in your journey for health and happiness and everything else that you want. And at the end of the day, if you want to know my secret to success, what I believe is really important for success is happiness. If you can find your way to really be happy and wake up every day feeling good about your life, then as far as I'm concerned, you've won. Wealth may be a tool for happiness. Love and all that's a tool for happiness. All these other things, health is a tool for happiness. But at the end of the day, you got to wake up content with your life. And the reason I can, one of the reasons I withstand all the nonsense that exists out in the world is because I wake up and I'm genuinely fucking happy. And I know that's going to make a lot of people mad. Like, I don't give a shit because I'm too happy to give a fuck. So anyway, that's it, guys. Have a good day. I got to run. I'm late for this competition. So God bless you. Hit the thumbs up button, please, before you go. My Instagram is The Real Boyce Watkins. So shout out to everybody on Instagram. I love you guys. And as you know, you'll probably see me again real soon. So take care. I'll see you later. Have a good day. Peace.